Hello and welcome to another episode of the Popcorn Conspiracy. I'm Dave G and joining me today is my co-host.
Hello everybody, I'm Kyle.
And today we're going to be taking a look at an Australian film called Buoyancy. And this is one of those movies that made my top 25 list last year. In fact, it made my top 10 movies of last year. I enjoyed it so much. It basically tells the tale of 14-year-old Chakra, played by Sam Heng, who's a newcomer to acting. Now, he's a Cambodian boy who dreams of a better life away from the farming kind of lifestyle that his parents have in Cambodia. So he decides that he's going to hitch a ride to Thailand, where he's been promised a dream job that will soon see him raking in the money. However, when he gets to Thailand, he finds that he's actually part of a person smuggling operation, and he ends up getting sold to a fishing boat captain called Rom Ran, played by Thanawut Khasro. And he's a cruel owner who very quickly, Chakra learns that he's not afraid to kill people on board the boat who aren't lifting their weight or who are holding him back. So now Chakra finds himself trapped working for Romran on his boat, and he has to try and find out a way to try and escape this lifestyle, which is even more full on than the lifestyle that he has escaped in Cambodia. Well, mate, I gotta ask, what did you think of this movie? Because I know I'm gonna talk about how much I loved it, but what did you think of Buoyancy?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. I mean, watching it, it's not what you would, knowing that it's an Australian movie, but watching it you wouldn't think that because of the setting and what it's about. But yeah, it was one of my favourite Australian movies of last year as well. It definitely made my top 5. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. How kind of it's a very it's a simple story, and it shines a light on something that many people wouldn't really think about. Just the story of one kid being sold into slavery on a fishing trawler, and I thought it was really great. I love the performance of Sam Hang, especially being complete such a newcomer to acting, and I would like to see him in more things. Hopefully, maybe this can help him springboard into new things after this. But yeah, I really enjoyed how just simple and affecting and haunting the movie was at times. I really liked early on how the movie did such a great job in such a short amount of time establishing the hopelessness of the boy's home life and why he would want to put himself at risk and do something, and rather than just stay at home, tend to his farm, stay with his family as a young boy, you think he would be safer at home, why he would want to go out and potentially do something dangerous. It was something that was because the movie itself was so short, it did such a good job of establishing that really straight away. It's just like him. The movie opens with him just carrying this gigantic bag of rice or something down the street, grain. Sorry, down the street, and it's just the way that the way his family treat him, the way his father treats him, basically treats him like a slave already. And the way he looks at it is kind of like, okay, well, I need to do something better. And so that allows him to put himself at risk. And I don't know, it was the brutality of the movie, and just all of it's over. Basically, what the fishing trawler is going after is basically dog food. And it's like, I think you don't really think about how, what dog food in a shopping center, the kind of how that gets onto the shelves in the shopping center and all the lives that it affects going along. It's like it was just kind of like an interesting story in that way to me. But yeah, dude, I know you really loved it. Yeah, what did you? When you tell me a little bit more about why you enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, I just found this movie probably one of the most important films that came out in 2019. It not only does it tell a tale about human trafficking that I think a lot of us, especially Westerners, kind of turn our heads away from, but we unknowingly kind of all support that in a way because of how much food and fish we actually buy from that region. But I think the other thing that really stood out to me with this movie was this movie didn't feel like it was ever preaching at you. Like, I actually had the pleasure of interviewing the writer-director, Rod Rathjen, about this film. And he did make this movie to educate people in Australia about what's going on in the Thai fishing industry. But this movie never feels like it's preaching. Like, it always feels like, no, there's a story here. It's telling the story of this boy. But I think what really stood out to me about this movie was I found this movie to be totally brilliant. But so many people that were involved with this movie, it was like their first time working on a film, or like just their second time and stuff like that. Like Rod Rathjen is a young director who's come from VCA here in Australia. Before he did this movie, he did 3 short films in 5 years. Like, he'd never done a feature film before, yet this film that he tackled is probably one of the most difficult feature films that we saw last year to have filmed, because it entirely takes place in Thailand, basically on fishing boats. Like, really, really difficult to capture. He's got the benefit of a great cinematographer working with him that helps get some great shots. But then add to the fact that the director is doing his first feature. Sam Heng, who plays Chakra, the lead character, he hadn't acted before. So you've got a leading man that's got no acting experience. The other actor in this that I was really impressed with, Thanawat Khosrow, it was his first role too. Since this film, he's actually gone on to be in The Cave, which is one of Thailand's biggest movies of the year. But this is a first-time director working with a cast that basically were made up of, one wasn't even a trained actor, and yet that's your leading man. Like, everything that you consider with this movie should have ended up like The Room. Especially when you consider that these guys aren't just like even just sitting in a room doing dialogue together. They're actually doing these really hardcore scenes, really intense scenes where they're facing off each other and stuff like that. And it's like, everything about this movie suggests this movie should have failed, but it ends up becoming this really gritty suspense thriller that has you on your seat for the entire time. Like, I know people who have been to see this movie who normally don't like movies told with subtitles, but they've gone along and seen this movie and just labelled it absolute brilliance. And I still think it's very criminal that this movie didn't get an Oscar nomination, and it hasn't even really got the praise and the accolades that it deserves in Australia, simply because it came out the same year as The Nightingale. Like, I gave both Buoyancy and The Nightingale like 5 stars, and unfortunately for Buoyancy, it came out the same year as The Nightingale, and The Nightingale won all the awards, because any other year, Buoyancy would have won all the awards. It's just, like, I know it's a sign that Aussie films are getting better and better when you have these 2 great films come out in the one year. I just feel a little bit sorry for Buoyancy that they happen to come out the same year as The Nightingale.
Yeah. You mentioned the other lead actor, Moni Ross.
No, Thanawat Khosrow.
Sorry, I got them mixed up. I was saying that there's 3. The movie kind of really focuses on the 3 characters: Sam Heng as Chakra, and Thanawat Khosrow as Romran, as the captain of the trawler, and Moni Ross as Kia, who's an adult who gets on the trawler at the same time that Chakra gets on it. And Moni Ross's character Kia, he's on it to take care of. He needs money to bring home to his family. And Chakra and Kia, they both they bond, and they're protecting each other throughout the movie. And so Chakra, like being a child, he's being taken care of by this kind of a paternal figure. And I thought it was really interesting, just as that when that kind of relationship ends for a certain reason, when there's no longer anyone there to really take care of Chakra, he starts becoming the kind of person that Romran, the ship's captain, wants him to be. Like he actually kind of the ship's captain. He wants to kind of mold this kid into being somebody like him. And that was something that I found interesting as the movie went on, especially towards the second half of the movie, was that you could kind of see this story of this little kid's life. It really could have gone in any direction. Like, it could have been about him trying to escape, or it could have been about him being trapped in that situation, or it could have been about him becoming completely losing his soul from it, and pretty much becoming just as brutal as the ship's captain himself was. And yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Like I said, it's kind of a simple movie, but those things about it I thought were really great. Just the way that the other people on the boat kind of treat each other. Like they're kind of they're being held hostage by basically like three people, and at times there's almost like maybe, I don't know, there's like half a dozen slaves, so to speak, on the boat, and they know that if they step out of line, or if they can't work, or if they fight back by themselves, or any kind of, they basically show any kind of show a defiant eye at all, they're going to be brutally punished. And the level of brutality and the inventiveness of the brutality is really sadistic, and kind of they don't actually try to band together in any way.
Yeah,
you know, like I thought that was kind of interesting. It was really just the only kind of bonding between anybody is between Chakra and Kea, Moni Ross's character. And when that breaks apart, that's when Chakra kind of starts to become kind of more brutal in his own way, like his way of treating other people on the boat who try to take advantage of him, and kind of in his way to try to earn the respect of the captain as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that, like, just little things like that I thought were really interesting as the movie progressed.
Yeah, the other thing too, I was going to say before about the acting is this movie's a little bit like what it was like for Sam Claflin in The Nightingale as well. I think it's very easy for a lot of people who have talked about this movie to say that Sam Heng is stunning, and he is in this film. He's brilliant. But Thaddeus Castro, I think, deserves credit as well, because he plays this bad guy, Romran, so well. And Romran is not a likable guy. He's like the Sam Claflin character in The Nightingale. Like, one of the first things you see him do in this movie is pick out that one of the slaves that he's bought is sick. So, like, just tosses him into the ocean, like, without even a single thought. Like, this guy is brutal. But the acting is so well done, like, with the way that Castro plays the role, that he never ever makes the character kind of one-dimensional. And as the film plays out, you start to think, maybe this guy went through the same thing as what Chakra went through, and that's how he's got to where he is. But, yeah, and that's something else, I guess, that you've got to thank Rod Rathjen for. He hasn't just made the bad guy in this movie a walking stereotype. He's actually given him characterization and stuff like that. And I would actually like to see Castro go on to play other parts, but I really, really hope that they just don't typecast him now as the token bad Thai guy in movies. Like, you could see him popping up as like a Bond bad guy if they needed a bad guy in Asia and stuff like that. And it's like, I really hope that's not what happens with him. I'd like to see him actually be able to play a variety of roles, because the movie he played in The Cave about the Thai cave rescue, he actually plays one of the Navy SEALs, so he's one of the heroes. And so I really, really hope, because I see that happen a lot, where you get an actor from another country, whether it be from France, Russia, or like a region like Asia,